their own shit. Ain't that what you said? Give the hands back to the fucking, so stay the fuck out of it. But if they arm the teachers, do you know how much money the NRA would fucking make? If he's like, let's just arm everybody.
No,
Trump loves them. I don't hate them.
But how many teachers are... I could tell you right now, my daughter's class asked a certain teacher, do you carry?
Oh, yeah, but I'm just saying...
how many teachers are... They already own their own guns.
Yeah, no, but I mean, if you really made a logo... and you made that marketing, that advertising, and you got all those people on board. You already got thousands of blondes with fucking rifles and tease bangs.
Justice is doing it here
I'm not
with
saying
the gas
that it
and oil.
isn't. Well, I'm just saying, realistically, that would be, it's more for business than it is for safety.
I'll agree with that. I will agree with that
Yeah.
100%.
So I think that is not really necessary. I think if they want to take their weapon, fine. But I don't think that it should be pushed as a marketing industrial complex fucking idea.
Right. No, you're right.
Yeah.
I seen the coolest thing.
I shot a gun. I ain't that great at it.
It was a room that sets up in the corner of a room. It was like a safe room, but it's bulletproof, got a camera in it like to put in the classroom.
How much does it
I forget, but it wasn't very costly. Wasn't real costly at all.
But how prisonized are we going? Are we really that afraid?
I like the idea that they could use it as a quiet room for kids with sensory problems too.
The problem is we don't have enough people there alone and isolated. That's one of the things I talked about with the Human Rights Commission. Unfortunately, it becomes more like solitary confinement than it does... speaking of autism, I've been reading a lot about this vaccine injury because when I came across it in our state budget, it's millions set aside. I can't remember the exact.
For what?
For vaccine injuries. Yeah.
Like to pay people for
Yes, the state. Yes, I swear to God.
Take that to fund the PEIA?
What the fuck? You gonna take
vaccines?
Because
vaccines aren't hurting people.
Because
then why
they
do we have
are.
that?
What? That's what I said. Because because when you read it, you're like, just like I found out about the utility tax being used for weather modification.
You told me about that.
That we pay for that.
Yeah.
So, that's when shit becomes real. Like the struggle just got real, yo. Like, yeah, because what the fuck? Like, I'm so happy none of my kids got fucked up. Like, because we're vaccinated. I'm not, like, I'm saying I don't want that shit. Because when I was waiting for chicken pox, and they were like, well, chicken pox don't exist anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, good. Good. Because it sucked for me as a kid. I don't want that shit.
I never had them.
Really?
No.
That's good.
Never had them.
That's good. I had them. They fucking stuck socks on my hands and shit. And they're like, don't itch, motherfucker. What do you mean, don't itch? you can't help but itch. Yeah. You can't help but itch. They had a rabbit.
What office are you running for in the near future?
When?
What office?
I know, right? Because I'm against... I don't think that... Okay, I think they need to go back to the typical fucking vaccinations that is what it is. Like, that we know of. And stop doing this hypothetical, well, in the year 5050, we're going to have fucking space measles. You know? So you need a vaccine now. And I don't understand why we know that mercury and all these metals in these vaccinations is sinking up. People our age are getting Alzheimer's. Baby boomers, one of them exclaimed to me that they're worried about the future because they're getting ready to be old and senile, and it's a burden on us because we don't have the money to take care of them. However, they don't give a fuck. The government does not give a fuck because for their sect, they are taken care of. They got the smart technology. They got the fucking STEM or CRISPR, what's gene editing, they're taking out. So by the time our children, well, not Charlie's probably in the clear, but by the time I'd say Reese, Ian, Nayla,
Marley,
right, is my God, they can literally transfer. I don't know where I'm going. I just went off on a whole other...
From the teachers to science.
So for healthcare, yes, in this healthcare realm, they're teetering over the next 30 years on... it's down to finance. When that guy bought that AIDS pill and jack that price up $750 fucking dollars without a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
You think, and they're in control of your health care, and we're fighting. Who are you fighting? Government don't own that shit. They're just doing experiments. Mm-hmm. Who are you fighting? You're fighting the wrong enemy. You should be fighting fucking Mylan.
Pharmaceutical, big pharma.
Yeah.
Last week.
Right, and they won't even give it to us.
That too.
I know, they won't even give it to us. Like, they already hijacked the seeds and everything. So, with the insurance, I think it's just the last of the fucking battlefront. That is like, let's think of Game of Thrones with the old gods and the new gods, you know, or just anything. The classic old tale of the old world and the new world. Mm-hmm. But now somebody like has such a strong stigma with these trigger words, and that's what the media is throwing at us, especially with these guns, and that's promoting and inciting division and fear.
But when did we become such pussies that we have fucking trigger words?
We did it. They did it with us. It still hasn't. We still had a little girl commit suicide last week. So it isn't like your trigger. It's social engineering. Dude, that shit is real. It's just.
It makes me want to cry.
I know. Because if you try to live off the grid and in a simple life.
You still have to have the money to
right.
yourself.
Those people are like rich people who decide to do that one day.
Like Tent Man. He wasn't rich, but
he had the money to live like that and the lack of responsibility. So we're having a clash, a fusion of the old world to the new world of what we're going to do. And, you know, we used to say that when, you know, our grandparents, you're afraid of change. Our parents, you're afraid of change. Everyone's afraid of change. And it's our roll with the tide. And that's why sometimes I wonder, should we get caught up in it? How far deeply should we get caught up in it? Because you're not going to change it.
Well, for our area, like in general, we're actually the least caught up in everything. Right. My culture for my project, for like this whole class, my culture theme has mostly been Appalachian America. Mm-hmm. And it really like hit me hard here, and the governor referred to us as a third world country the other day. But then all the research that I'm finding describing our culture refers to us as a third world country.
Well, some people need to reevaluate that because that's still predated back in coal mine days. But, Holly, outside the north central region of West Virginia and a certain little hubs down in the south, that shit is fucked up. People still don't have shit down there.
And that's what it's talking about. Not just West Virginia, just Appalachian.
Like,
Appalachian
we're not even,
culture, people, period.
This,
with the exception of the few major cities. Like, we've got Charleston, Morgantown, Huntington.
New Martinsburg.
Wheeling. What'd you say?
New Martinsburg.
Martinsburg.
Yeah,
and New Martinsville.
Yeah.
Like, we've got some, but, like, the people, like, Fairmont's just a little peon on the map.
Yeah, but I consider us... Yeah, but we're the in-between, like, you know. So I don't really we don't even sound like them. Like, we're an hour from Pittsburgh. Every once in a while we get that little country twang, but our culture isn't the same as that. This is where the barons lived.
I guess maybe I have a different
Fairmont
view
was
on
the
it.
richest
place
up until, like, the late 40s.
I guess I have a different view on, like, my culture, even though we're raised in the same place, would still be a little bit different than yours. Because I was raised, like, I seen, not poor side, but Grandma Helen's from 100.
Yeah, I never got to go see that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
well, Larry did.
They were poor.
Delivering.
Nowadays, they'd have been poor. Back then, they was probably poor. Eventually, maybe middle class.
Well, across the whole nation, middle class is obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's like levels of poor. You're poor, middle class poor, and upper poor.
But the Appalachian culture in general does kind of fit Fairmont. Strong religious roots.
It's that Bible Belt.
Family, and family means everything. My conflict resolution is I'm going to fight you and tell you how I feel. That's the whole topic this week's conflict resolution. And I said it's so fitting to this strike right now. The teachers' work stoppage, whatever you want to call it, is so fitting. Because back to the pay raise thing, I kind of see Mitch Carmichael's point to an extent.
Well, what's he say? Because I don't know what he says.
Yesterday, when they met with the superintendents, he said, first and foremost, are you fighting for a raise or are you fighting for PEIA? Because we're trying to, the governor's offered the raise, although we already passed the 211 raise.
Right.
He's offering you a 1% better deal immediately, but you're still not willing to go back to work.
And how
because of PEIA. And they're saying, well, we want proof that after this freeze, it's going to be fixed.
Why is he so important?
He's the president of the Senate or something like that. Okay. He's the bigwig.
Okay.
In the Senate. So, the House Finance Committee already passed it, but they passed it knowing that we don't have the money. I would rather see them, in a way, go with the 211 to keep the insurance.
They need to do the health reform is on
first.
That's the first and foremost thing.
Yeah, and that's what Carmichael's saying. I guarantee you that if Carmichael and the superintendents had met Wednesday instead of after they met with the governor when all this was first proposed,
right,
and everything would have went how it went yesterday, if it could have happened a day sooner or 2 days sooner, the kids would have been back in school.
Right.
Because they would have been able to tell them, okay, yes, the teachers will agree to the 5%. If you can form this task force in the next 24 hours to work on PEIA, then we can talk. But the union leaders took it at the governor's word and didn't wait on anybody else to pass it.
Right.
And Justice said many times
the news was appeasing the people. That's PR tricks, PR stunts. Yes. That's all. So they settled
and that
down.
Little girl that they had up there standing at the Marion County Board of Education meeting, I don't know who she was talking to or who she was, but you could tell she was scared shitless. She sounded like she was talking from a script.
She probably was.
Like she did.
She was probably a crisis actor.
No, they said her name, and I've seen her name in all the papers. I thought the same thing at first, too, and I was like, no, wait a minute.
Well, they probably talked her into it. She's somebody's grandkid, that they just stuck up there and said, here's what you're going to do, sweetie.
She was an official rapper or something.
Oh, how old was she?
She looked younger than us.
Oh, okay.
She's probably 20-something. And then the one lady, the one that we had interviewed for TV
Stacy?
19. Yeah. When she first went up there, man, she was brutal, and I thought she was telling them to stand their ground and walk out. Nope, she was encouraging them to go back.
Right, because, well, they probably believed in it, and that's the difference with the baby boomers. They really believe.
Oh, no, here's the shitter. If they go on strike, which is illegal, the legal action, if they would have went on strike Thursday without the union leaders agreeing to it, since the union leaders told Governor Justice on Wednesday, yes, we'll accept your proposal. We'll go back to work and hope that they pass it, right?
Right.
Well, we found out Wednesday night at that meeting, if the superintendent would have kept school open Thursday and the teachers would have went on strike anyways, superintendent and union leaders face charges first. So then it comes down to the teachers. So it'll start with a fine, and I think it's up to a year in jail. So they were trying to cover their own asses. Right. The whole meeting, the leaders that were there just kept saying, yeah, it's all going to come down on us. You have to trust your leadership.
And they did it for them.
They did.
Stepped out for them.
They did.
Because this is, what is that word?
But they're not willing to, though. They were telling them to go back. The union leaders
Well, that's because at that moment they really believed in what their government said.
And the people didn't.
Right. Because we're right.
But if they'd have went back Thursday,
they would have been charged or jailed.
If they would have went back Thursday, maybe the Senate would have passed it already.
Because you think it's because they're defiant and they feel,
the teachers didn't
and they have the whole nation looking at them. They also have President Trump looking at them.
And he has a statement addressed to everybody too.
Yeah.
But they broke their end of the deal. The union leaders said, yes, we'll go back. The teachers and superintendents broke the deal the union leaders made, so the Senate's saying, we'll fix you. You want your PEIA? That's what we're going to work on. You want to strike? Then...
Right.
Now, my kid is like, can I at least get in the school and get the shit out of my locker and get my clarinet so that I can practice? Because Mr. Bean is like, if we can get practice in, will still do follies. But he's not practicing as long as there's a work stoppage.